Hello there. Welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm creating a birthday card, shopping my stash. So get comfy and let's get crafty. I will be working with all of the things on my desk right here. I have some my favorite things. This is a happy birthday dynamic. I have the candles dynamic, and I have a sentiment stamp set that has all kinds of sentiments. I also have this from my stash paper pad. I think this is from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to be using this donut piece of pattern paper. I have a piece of white cardstock that is nearly the size of a card base, and then I have this bluish card base. I also have some black scrap and some yellow scrap cardstock. So I want to create a pop-up card without any pop-up dies. This is old school, like you learned in elementary school art class. The first thing I need to do is create my card base, and I am going to take this piece of 8.5 by 5.5 inch cardstock and score it in the middle at 4 1/4. Now this white cardstock is just slightly under 8.5, so I'm going to score it at 4 1/8. I am going to. Words are hard, English is hard, speaking is hard. Anyways, I need the white piece, the insert piece, to be slightly smaller than my blue card base. It looks kind of purple on the video, but it's blue, I promise. And it is still a little bit too long, so I'm going to stick it in my Fiskars trimmer and trim it down just another little 1/8 of an inch. I don't want the insides to be hanging out when the card is closed. So that's why. And it is all about eyeballing it. So now I'm going to create the pop-up part of the card. I don't need my pop-up supports to be very wide. So I am just creating a bunch of tick marks about 1/4 inch in from the fold side of this paper. I'm also not drawing them very straight, but that's irrelevant too. I did go in and make sure that my line was straight because I'm going to cut on each of these score lines. And I have created 7 little pieces in the middle here that I'm going to use this. Well, I started using my stylus there, but it was making the gaps too big. So then I decided to use my pop-up tool, and pokey tool thingy. Oh my gosh, you guys. I realized that it worked really well if I popped out one of the little pop-ups and then folded it down. So now you can see on the insert of the card, I have all of this little row of pop-up things. I'm going to work on the front of the card before I get to the inside, which in hindsight, probably I should have done the other way around, but whatever, it's all good. This piece of cardstock I am trimming down to 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm trimming the donut pattern paper down to 5 by 3 3/4. So each piece of paper is just 1/4 inch smaller than the one behind it, so that I have a card base, a mat, and a pattern paper. And I'm going to adhere those together with my ATG double-sided adhesive. This is my go-to adhesive because it doesn't make my fingers sticky, which does become problematic later on in the video. I am making sure I'm putting the donuts on with the frosting side up toward the fold so that it doesn't look all weird. Now I want to use this happy birthday die, and this is a huge die to create the sentiment on the front of the card. And I'm going to cut the words out of this yellow cardstock, and then I'm going to back them with a strip of that black cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and send this through my die cut machine, and now that that's all done, magic of video editing, you didn't have to sit and wait for that. I can remove the tape holding my die in place and poke all of those words out of the paper. Now I'm going to keep that paper for a minute because I'm going to use it to line the letters up. Now there are 500 ways you could have done this. There's 500 ways I could have done this better even. I taped it to my work surface because my glasswork craft mat is a little bit slippery. Then I put the letters in, and then I took a piece of Post-it tape and went right over each word. So another way I could have done this was to use Post-it tape to tape the happy birthday cutout part to the front of my card, or the front of the black strip of paper rather, and then glue the letters on, but this was the way I went, so we're just going to work with it. I'm going to go ahead and rub that to make sure all of the letters are sticking to the Post-it tape, and then I can pick up the negative, I guess that's called the negative, right? And I have 2 words that are lined up. Also, I could have just used a T ruler, which I'm going to end up doing anyway. I know, I'm a genius. I have put a little bit of tape on the back of that black strip of cardstock so it will stay in place on my work surface. And this is how I want to align the letters. And I need to put glue on just the bottom half of the happy word. So I'm just opening up my Tombow glue, and I pulled in a T ruler to make sure I get this on straight. Now, why didn't I just do that and assemble the letters one at a time? I don't know. Because it's Tuesday? I don't know. With the birthday word, I'm going to put the glue on the top half of the letters. And this strip of black paper doesn't cover the whole front of the card, because that would be, what would be the point of adding the donut paper onto that? It just kind of makes the letters pop off a little bit and makes them easier to be seen. I think that you could also have cut the happy birthday sentiment out of the donut paper and put the yellow right in, or cut it with black and put it right in. No, there's hindsight. There's lots of ways I'm seeing I could do this card differently, and maybe I'll try another version another day. But I went ahead and put double-sided adhesive on the back of the black cardstock, and I'm lining it up on my mat so that line is in the middle of my black strip of cardstock. And the words aren't perfectly visible, but it works. So I'm just going to let it be. So the next thing I need to do is take my insert and insert it into the card. So I'm going to put double-sided adhesive on the back of the bottom piece, but then I'm going to place it with the fold at the seam and put it not adhesive side down, and then close it and it will stick together, and then I can put adhesive on the top side, and voila, it's all centered in there and looks nice and pretty. Okay, so I want to add the candles to the inside of this card, and I have some in my die packet, the little pouch where I keep my die, and I need 7, and I happen to have 7 that I can use. So I need these to be adhered to those little pop-ups with some really good adhesive. And I was a little too nervous to use liquid glue because I have the tendency to get it everywhere. So after realizing I could not put this double-sided, super strong double-sided tape on the pop-ups in the card, I went ahead and put a little tiny piece at the bottom of each candle. And then I'm just going to lay them out to make sure that I actually have enough to make them work. There are 3 colors, 2 yellows and a green. The colors coordinate with the donuts on the front, so I wasn't super concerned about having almost one color card. I think it works. I think adding another card would have competed with the paper on the front, or adding another color rather, would have competed with the pattern paper on the front, and I didn't really love that idea either. So also the best way I found to adhere the candles in here was to pick off the backing on the tape, line the candle up, and close the card. And that way the candle and the pop-up behind it all smushed together, and they're nice and adhered, wowzer, because this is a really strong adhesive. So I'm trying to get it so you can see how these are popping off, and I promise I get better pictures later. This die set does come with the flames, and I wanted to make them sparkly because, hello, they're candles. So I pulled out my Wink of Stella pen, which is empty. And I really thought I had a Wink of Stella pen in an extra one in my stash. And I don't. So I had to come up with a plan B. And my plan B was stickles, because I have stickles in my drawer. The problem with stickles is you have to let them dry. So did I finish the card first and then put the stickles on? Well, yes and no. I had to figure out how to get the candles adhered. So I stuck a piece of scrap paper behind the candle, added a little tiny bit of glue to that wick that is sticking up, and using my reverse tweezers, I attached the flames. Now, this is a rather dainty process, and I tried putting glue on the flame and it stuck to the paper, and I tried all the things, and it really just turned out to be, you just have to do a little tiny dot and not a lot, just like the art teacher says. But now I've got glue all over my fingers, so the flames are sticking to my fingers, and the card back is popping closed, so you can't really see what I'm doing. And I should have. And if you decide to make this kind of a pop-up card, do this first. Do your insert and the pop-up, the things you're going to put on the pop-ups, before you adhere it to the inside of your card. Because that way you can lay it flat. See how much easier that would be? You could lay it flat. Yeah. So now that I have all of my candles attached, or my flames rather, attached to my candles, I'm going to go ahead and stick that scrap paper back in there, if I can get it behind all the candles at the same time, and put the stickles on. And this was great, except I wasn't quite done on the front. So once I get a nice good coating of this is the diamond color stickles. It basically just makes the color of cardstock shiny and shimmery and pretty. And, I could have taken like a Copic marker and drawn the red into the center of the flame or something like that, but I really wanted the stickles to be the star of the show on these candles, which is also why I used cardstock, not more pattern paper. So I'm again trying to get you can see a little bit better the dimension there. Yeah. But also wasn't quite finished with the front, like I said before. And I have this, my favorite things. It's the More Essential Sentiments. And there's one in here that says, make a wish or two. And I wanted to put that on the front of the card that I now can't close because the stickles are wet. See my dilemma? However, I worked around it. I paused my video recording. Well, first I stamped the sentiment, and I stamped it in white pigment ink, and then I embossed it with white heat embossing powder. And I'm just using the piece of black cardstock that I cut off of the center strip underneath the happy birthday. What I decided I had to do now, before I could put this piece on, was I had to pause, let the stickles dry. So I went and ate lunch, and I worked on some other stuff I had to do, and came back and it was dry enough. Okay. I have also off camera cut that out with my Simon Says stamp label dies, because it was too small of a piece of paper to fiddle with in my trimmer. So I am using my reverse tweezers to hold it, and I still don't want to close it because the stickles are dry to the touch, but they're not exactly all the way dry. And then I have got that sub-sentiment on the front of my card, and I love how it turned out. And I did get a picture in here so you could see how all of those candles will pop up when the card is opened. And when the card is closed, like when they pull it out of the envelope, it will look just like a normal everyday card. And then you open it and voila, you have a birthday candle surprise. So I hope you enjoyed the card. Find a way to shop your stash. Thank you so much for hanging around to the end. I know I'm a mess today. I have a couple of other videos here you might like, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and have a really fabulous day.